beef, roast duck with sauerkraut, scalloped oysters, and cranberries in some form. And for dessert, old-fashioned English Christmas pudding. And that's the first recipe we're going to begin with. In the mixer bowl, I have 2 1/3 cups of unbleached flour, and I think it's important to use this unbleached flour because it's more like the old flours used to be, and you'll have a pudding that's like it was perhaps in the 1900s, and I think they were probably better then, at least the way I've had to experiment to bring this one up to date so it'd really be good. And to this, we're going to add a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and then we're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I want to talk to you a little bit about this soda business. Things like baking powder and soda and cornstarch should be always labeled with the date on them, and you should only keep them for a year. And as you see, I have actually transferred this soda to one of my old vitamin jars. TV people need lots of vitamins. This is one of my old vitamin jars. And then I've labeled it, and this year it was labeled October 88, so in October 89, I'm going to throw this away and refill it with new soda. If you don't, you will have failures with your recipe. You want to use fresh leavenings all of the time. And then we're going to add some really good spices to this. And they will include a teaspoon of nutmeg, a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. And they all go. Let's give them a good combining. This is the secret ingredient. This is ground suet. And you get this at your meat market. And call and have them get it special. It has to be kidney suet. And then you, of course, will have to explain this to the checkout girl because she will have no idea what you're using this for. And I'll talk about this a little bit later on. Every year I give a lecture on suet pudding and why you have to have suet. Put that in. And then we're going to add 1 cup of ground nuts. And 1 cup of ground raisins. And I do this in my food grinder that goes with my mixer because whole raisins just simply won't work. And the big ones are just too big, and that would be more like a fruit cake, and that isn't what you want. Lock this because it's putting some real... These motors are so strong. They just do wonderful jobs. I want to take this out just to see if it's mixed, because I might have to finish it up with my hands. That's pretty well done. The traditional suet pudding or steam pudding reflects the English influence on Midwestern English cuisine, America's cuisine. But as I mentioned to you, do insist on beef kidney suet for the recipe. It's a better quality fat, and it melts during the steaming of the pudding, and it creates this deep, rich flavor and a smoothness of texture that you just can't duplicate with any other fat. Now, we like to serve this with a thin sauce at our house. There's lots of great stories about this pudding, I must tell you. Some people say, and it's written down actually, that it was served at King Arthur's court. So you see it dates back to ancient times. Now we're going to put this down. And to this, we're going to add a cup of milk that's been soured and a 1/2 cup of dark Karo corn syrup and a splash of vanilla. Be generous. 2 teaspoons, I would say. There's another story about this pudding. Presumably, an ancient king of England and his hunting party were out in the woods on Christmas Eve, and they didn't get back to the castle in time. So the royal cook had to do something sort of special since it was Christmas Eve. So he took everything he had, meat, plums, suet, etc., spices, and he put it all in a bag and steamed it. And even today, in some communities, these puddings are steamed in a bag. And the very first one I ever ate was indeed steamed in a bag. Perfectly done. get all that good stuff off. This is a steamed pudding mold, and I must tell you, I've had this almost as many years as I have had my canner that I showed you recently. However, it's not quite as rusty. And you need a 6-cup mold. Some people will steam these in just round bowls that have been greased. And the greasing part is very important. You want to grease it and then flour it, because you'll have a dickens of a time getting this out. And I happen to like this can spray that has flour right in it. I find it ideal. Then we're going to put this wonderful batter in here. Now, in England, where this is still served every Christmas, they generally make these up in October. And all of the major hotels and restaurants also will make them in October, because this is such a popular dish that they know that their patrons are going to come in and demand steamed pudding at Christmas. Dickens popularized this whole recipe in his story, A Christmas Carol. And if you recall, the Cratchits, when they finally sat down to their dinner with Scrooge, a great steamed ball of pudding was then festooned with holly. That too had been steamed in a bag at the laundry next door and brought over. Now, I do not cook my pudding with this lid on it, because it will simply puff up and out, and you're going to have a problem, because this fits rather smoothly. What I like to do is cover it with a piece of foil, and rather snugly, you can actually tie a string around it if you want to. And then you put it in a steamer. Now, this steamer is my vegetable steamer, and I cook asparagus in this, other vegetables. I blanch vegetables in it for freezing, and I also cook spaghetti in it. But it's also perfect for steamed pudding. Now, you could do this in a pressure cooker if you like, but that takes about 1 hour and 20 minutes, and it's a bit complicated, so I'm not going to talk about that today. But I do want you to know you can do this in a pressure cooker. You want to steam this on simmer for 6 hours. Plan on being home when you do this. You want about 1 inch of water in this steamer, and you have to keep replenishing it. The steam's doing the work, and that's going to melt down all the soot during that 6-hour period. Then when you get ready to serve it, you have to re-steam it for about 2 hours. I, too, make this in November, and I generally do it the day that I'm doing mincemeat and I'm going to be home. And then I freeze the whole shebang, and it's ready to go for all of my holiday dinners. Now, this is what it looks like when it's all finished. Isn't that just exquisite? It would be unthinkable to have Christmas without this pudding. And at our house, too, it would be unthinkable, because I have English ancestors. So it's been a tradition in our family for a long, long time.
Amish Cooking from Quilt Country will return on TLC.
This portion of the Learning Channel is brought to you in part by J.A. Henkels.
The world is now a little different, a little sharper, because J.A. Henkels, makers of the world's premier knives, has developed a way to improve them. It's called SCT, Sinter Metal Component Technology, and it's exclusively Henkels. So only Henkels knives will be even sharper than before and will stay sharper longer. J.A. Henkels, the world's finest cutlery since 1731. To help start your collection, our $35 4-star 3-inch paring knife is now $19.99.
Take one Christmas Eve, add a little whimsy, stir gently, then toss in a heaping scoop of diamond walnuts. That's what holiday memories are made of.
Me again. I was telling you about the computer that thinks it's a toy. Pico. It's from Sega. Sega! Its software is called Storyware. Turn the page, it changes right on your TV screen. See? While she's playing Winnie the Pooh, she's learning all about numbers. With Mickey's blast into the past, he's having fun with history. And while he's playing Magic Crayons, he's learning to animate his own cartoon show. Or maybe you'd rather your kid just watch TV.
Just imagine if all the people who want the iced teapot by Mr. Coffee dropped a hint at the same time. Delicious, fresh brewed iced tea, whenever you want it. The Iced Teapot by Mr. Coffee.
We remember our lives in pictures, but the parts in between those pictures, long stretches of life, we too easily forget. In Introducing the Nikon Nice Touch Zoom, a Nikon 35mm zoom for under $129. You will take more pictures. You will remember more, and perfectly. Nikon, we take the world's greatest pictures, yours.
For the Learning Channel, I'm Mike Rowe.
And I'm Allison Clare.
Try a little tenderness for two with Mike and Allison.
I found what I like to do.
Very relaxing.
Unwind at exclusive resorts. Savor intimate weekends.
This one will be tough to top.
Enjoy America's most alluring spots together with romantic escapes. Saturdays at 4:30 on the Learning Channel. Brought to you by the Diamond Anniversary Band, the perfect gift for your 10th anniversary.
TLC now returns with Amish cooking from Quilt Country.
Now, I know very well that my next recipe is not from 18th century Europe, like most of these Amish recipes have been. But I do know that this recipe, called hoopie pies, are a favorite cookie in this part of the country, and all the local Amish and Mennonite cookbooks print recipes for them. So I want to do hoopie pies for you today. They're just a fantastic cookie. Here in the mixer, I'm just going to give it a quick whip, I have 1 stick of butter and a half a cup of lard and 2 cups of sugar. And that's been beaten for 3 minutes. And you do that so you're really dissolving the sugar and beating air into this mixture. We're going to be generous with vanilla again. 2 teaspoons is fine. And then to this mixture, we're going to add 2 eggs, one at a time. Beat it in. Again, you're adding air into this because you want these cookies to puff up a bit. No distressed eggs today. That's an inside joke here. If you have a bloody egg, that means that a distressed hen laid it. The next mixture is the dry mixture. And I want to tell you what's in this bowl. We have 4 cups of flour and a teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of cream of tartar, a teaspoon of salt, and a tablespoon of baking powder. So this is going to puff up. And then we have 1 cup of cocoa powder. And I don't mean the instant stuff that's sweetened. I mean the old-fashioned powder that you make hot cocoa on Sunday night and eat toast fingers with. That's what's in here. And we're going to add this alternately to the fat mixture with 1 1/3 cups of soured milk. And you're going to do this just like you would bake a cake. Start and end with dry ingredients. And add the milk portion in about half. You want it to blend it quite gently because if you don't, you're going to have holes. These hoopie pies are sold in all of the Amish bakeries, and the women also make them as a cottage industry, and during the summer months you'll find these at roadside stands. They're just, I try to keep them in the deep freeze, but they have a way of disappearing. You know, you go out there and they're gone, so you put these little signs on, do not eat, or you'll be sorry, you know, that sort of thing. Never does any good. But I'm going to give this one quick blend. Okay. There we come. If it looks a bit curdled, don't be worried about that. The sour cream has done that and it bakes right out. See, I need a little more mixing right here. Another thing you'll find sold at the roadside stands with these hoopie pies will be quarts of mincemeat, bags of noodles, hot rolls, wonderful things. It does take a little bit longer to bake because you're dealing with just a few pies per sheet. And yes, few pies per sheet. You're dealing with few cookies per sheet. They end up being called that. You're only going to put on 5 cookie halves. And these really will spread out. You see, this does look like a very thick cookie batter. It occurs to me as I'm doing this, I wonder if you could put these in a sheet and then just cut them out. I think not. I think not. And I'll tell you why, because they'd have a different sort of edge, and you'll understand that when you see the baked ones. Besides, that would be cheating. Cooking shouldn't be that easy. You know, nothing in life that's really good is that easy. You know, there has to be some blood, sweat, and tears to all this, even in cooking, to make it right. If not, the fun would be gone. You know, it's pitting yourself against all the odds that makes cooking kind of great. Now, you want to bake these at 375 degrees for 6 minutes. Now, in my oven, I sometimes have to turn those around during that baking period because my oven bakes unevenly, and yours might too. And the idea is when they're done, you would touch them with your finger and they'd spring back up. You want these to be a nice, moist cookie.
Amish Cooking from Quilt Country will return on TLC.
Excuse me, I just want to turn your TV off and turn you on to the power of your kid's imagination. This is Pico from Sega. You know, Sega! It works with storybook software and this magic pen. Touch the storybook and images come alive right on your TV, interactively. Touch the learning pad and they can draw, color, they can even animate their own cartoons. Speaking of which, I'll turn your program back on now. See you real soon!
A long time ago, in a place far, far away, a baby was born in a remote little town. A baby who would change the course of human history. Now, in celebration of the season, TLC recalls that wondrous moment in time, separating the facts from the myths while looking back on the genesis of a great religion. Join us for a very special evening, our Ancient Journeys Holiday Special. Tonight, beginning at 6 on the Learning Channel.
MCI customers, you make the call.
AT&T, this is Margaret.
Margie, tell me about AT&T True USA Savings.
Certainly.
What's the monthly fee?
No fee.
No fee?
No fee! Make $25 in calls a month, and we'll subtract 20% off your AT&T bill.
Wow!
Find out for yourself. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT. With AT&T True USA Savings, there's no fees. You can save 20% guaranteed. Switch today.
I'm sick of the circles!
You got circles?
No calling circles. You can save to anybody in the U.S. you want to call.
No circles. Call anybody.
Anybody?
Call anybody and save with True USA Savings. It's true. Switch to AT&T and you'll save 20% off on calls anytime, anywhere in the U.S. to anybody at all.
Anybody?
Anybody.
Anybody!
With AT&T, it's never been easier to save on long distance. You make the call and we'll switch you for free.
Thank you for calling AT&T.
Your true voice.
TLC now returns with Amish Cooking from Quilt Country.
And this is what they look like when they're all finished. No one has any idea where the name Hoopie Pie came from. As near as I've been able to trace it, I think the cookie came from Texas probably and was called a moon pie. And down there, those moon pies are filled with marshmallow filling, and of course the Texans just love them. These are quite different than that. I don't want to say they're a sophisticated cookie because they're not, but they have brought moon pies up to another degree of refinement. How's that? Okay? This is how they look like when they're all done, and these are still too hot to fill. I'm going to move those over here and bring out these cool ones so I can demonstrate to you how to fill them. The filling is divine. It is a combination of cream and butter and flour and confectioner's sugar. The flour binds it together. However, it does take quite a while to make, and you have to cool it, so we didn't have time to make it on the set. You'll find the recipe for it in the cookbook along with this hoopie pie recipe. Now you end up with 29 of these hoopie pie halves. So you're going to actually end up with 15 cookies. The spare ones for the cook. All right? And then you want a ½ inch, mind you, a ½ inch. This is living. A ½ inch of this wonderful filling on this hoopie pie. And then put the other one on top. I'm going to work with that one later. Put the filling on top, and then you squeeze it. I'm going to take my fingers and just edge that off so it looks a little handsomer. How's that? And that's your finished hoopie pie. Now, those ought to be then put in the refrigerator and chilled for a while, and then wrapped individually in a plastic wrap and frozen in a big plastic container so they don't get squashed. They'll keep at least for 3 months in the freezer. And they're just wonderful, wonderful recipes, recipe to have on hand because they're good for picnics and for unexpected company. This is, one other thing I want to tell you about. I'm going to move this one aside. If you have a cookie that ends up being a little irregular, I'll teach you how to cheat on this one. You just take your scissors while the cookie's still warm, and you make it perfectly round. That's still too oval for me. You can do that with a lot of things. You can do that with cakes or any other cookies. Just trim it off with a pair of scissors. Works beautifully and no one ever knows. Get this out of here and show you some others that we have already fixed. Now, every time I serve hoopie pies, the adults will say, I couldn't possibly eat one of those whole things. Do cut it in half for me. And I do cut it in half. And of course, they always eat the other half. But that's all right. Food ought to be that good and that irresistible. There has to be joy in cooking. Serve this with milk if you want to. It's just absolutely the perfect thing for it. 2 other dishes I'd like to share with you that you will find at a Mennonite Christmas dinner would be the Mennonite onion pie and sand tarts. In Alsace, they call this tourte, T-U-R-T-E. It's certainly a cousin to the well-known quiche Lorraine. It's rich and delicate and a perfect lunch dish, or you will find it at this Christmas dinner at the Mennonite tables. These are sand tarts, a wonderful little Mennonite Christmas cookie, but I make them year-round and have them in the freezer. In the spirit of the holidays, let's talk about the gifts that Amish children might receive on Christmas morning. The Amish do celebrate Christmas, but it's observed as more a family day rather than a ceremonial holiday. Traditionally, the children might receive one special toy, and frequently it will be handmade by a local Amish craftsman, just like these wooden farm animals. You can see that they're quite primitive in design. The artist has had no formal training. The cat is almost the same size as the cow, and each one's painted differently. To me, that's part of their charm. There's also a really big barn that goes with these animals. However, I must tell you that I have never seen an Amish dollhouse. In the winter, small children would wear warm socks and mittens like these. Amish children's antique garments are very valuable because of their rarity. Most of their clothes are passed from child to child and wear out, like the rest of our children's clothes. So there's nothing left as a record, we just sort of have to guess about what they're wearing. And so it was wonderful to find these. These pink and green socks are really atypical. Usually the children wear black socks. And these beautiful blue mittens have been made by careful and loving hands and were possibly given as a gift at Christmas. So until the next time, that's a goot. Eat good.
James Barber tells you how to make mincemeat out of your Christmas feast, not to mention a cranberry aperitif, as the Learning Channel continues with its Holiday Kitchen. Next.
Major funding for Amish Cooking from Quilt Country was provided by Maple Leaf Farms, a symbol for ducklings and frozen entrees, chef quality you can count on. Additional funding was provided by Ball Corporation, Consumer Products Division, serving the needs of home canners for over 100 years.
This portion of the Learning Channel is brought to you in part by Nikon.
We remember our lives in pictures. But the parts in between those pictures, long stretches of life, we too easily forget. Presenting the Nikon Light Touch Zoom, the world's smallest 35mm autofocus zoom. You will take more pictures. You will remember more, and perfectly. Nikon, we take the world's greatest pictures, yours.
The world is now a little different, a little sharper, because J.A. Henkel's, makers of the world's premier knives, has developed a way to improve them. It's called SCT, Sinter Metal Component Technology, and it's exclusively Henkel's. So only Henkel's knives will be even sharper than before and will stay sharper longer. J.A. Henkel's, the world's finest cutlery since 1731.
To help start your collection, our $35 4-star 3-inch paring knife is now $19.99.
All recipes seen in this series are available in Marcia Adams' book, Cooking from Quilt Country. This hardcover contains nearly 200 Amish and Mennonite recipes, with color photographs and descriptions of the food and folkways of America's heartland. The cost of the book is $24.95 plus handling. Please have your credit card ready when you call 1-800-325-2667. Series 1 of Amish Cooking from Quilt Country is available on home video for $59.95 plus shipping. All 13 programs in this first series are compiled on 3 VHS cassettes. Call 1-800-325-2667 for credit card orders.
Surrounded by oceans and lost in time, these are the places where unknown riches live, Treasure Islands, beginning December 27th at 9:30 on TLC. It's time to see what else is on the stove inside TLC's Holiday Kitchen as our cooking extravaganza continues next on the Learning Channel.
Oh, James, how do you do the things you do? I still can't believe that it's true. I get hungry when I think of you. Like champagne and caviar, you're such a treat. Like cherries to believe, you're oh so sweet. You whet my appetite each time we meet. Oh, James, it's true. I get hungry when I think of you.
Ho, ho, hello, and a merry whatever, because whatever you celebrate this time of year, it's the middle of, well, winter. It's this winter solstice, and this is when people traditionally have a good time. Not everybody has a turkey, not everybody has all that monster great thing. People do different things, and I think we should do some different things today. What I want to do, make some real nice, simple, sort of Christmassy dishes, okay? I got some water on with orange peel in it and some cloves. Just let it simmer. It smells nice. The whole place smells as though you're having a party, even if you're on your own. What I'm going to make is something that the Italians call chicken involtini. The Brits make this out of beef. They call it beef birds and beef olives, stuff like that. It's dead easy, and it's simple, and it's quick, and it tastes nice, and it's festive. So what you do, first of all, is get a bit of waxed paper. And if you haven't got waxed paper, open up a plastic bag and sprinkle it very lightly with flour. You can do that just very simply, and then get a chicken breast, all right, and put that on the waxed paper, and then put the waxed paper over the top of it. Now comes the important bit, the beating of the bones, the beating of the chicken. Just bang it. Now, I use wine bottle because it stops me hitting it too hard, all right? I don't want to break anything. But if I do it just gently and I'm sensitive to it, see how that's turning itself into a great big fat thing. It's very flat, 3 times as big as it was before. Flip it up, there it is, right? Now, what we do with this nice little piece of chicken, is to stuff it. What do you stuff it with? Well, let's give it a little flavoring first of all, a little bit of pepper. All right, let's give it a little tiny bit of salt. Let's give it a little dose of thyme. Now, if you've got fresh thyme, that's fine, but if you haven't, just punch it up between your fingers and so that the flavors get out of it, all right? And then, now what you do, this is really festive. Here, you take an oyster and you lay it in the middle. Now, oysters and chicken and turkey, these are really old combinations, okay? They're not modern at all. And then we'll make this look pretty. I know what we'll do. We'll make this look pretty. We'll cut a green onion and we'll put that in there. And we just flip that over the top and roll it up. See? Just roll it up like that. And then put yourself a toothpick through it so it stays rolled up right through the oyster, right through the whole bit. Turn up the fire, get the pan going, and that's one. So now let's make another one. Dead easy, a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick. Okay, there's the chicken breast. See how small it is when it starts? Put a little bit more flour on the top of this one. And there. Now over the top and bang it. Gently. You're more massaging it than banging it, but what you're doing is spreading it out. See? There we are. One more involtini. Peel the paper off it. In goes the oyster. Oh, we had to, remember? Season it. A little pepper, a little tiny bit of salt, and where's the oysters? Here's the oysters. There's an oyster. Let's make it stick out. See, you see, if we put that end in there, it would just stick out like that. But if we put this in, it looks a lot more festive. All right, nice and festive. So we'll just roll that up, nicely flavored, pretty, like that. Put a toothpick through it, and there is a little miniature Christmas dinner. Now, the pan is hot. In goes a little bit of oil. Not too much, just a little tiny bit of oil, and in goes chicken involtini. Now, you want to make it look pretty? All right. Well, let's make it look pretty. Let's get rid of this wax paper. Cut that down there. Take a carrot. Cut the carrot in half. Cut the carrot into long strips. There we go. You don't have to do a lot of these because you can see what I'm doing. Throw those in the pan too. Cook the carrots in there. A little bit of pepper on the carrots. And a little bit of, here, this would be nice. A little bit of dill on the carrots. That makes it nice. Makes the carrots taste good. All right. Turn them over. When they're cooked, they take about 3 or 4 minutes each to cook. And that's all. That's all you gotta do.
The Ancient Journeys Holiday Special tonight beginning at 6 on the Learning Channel.
Sinus sufferers, how come your pill doesn't relieve sinus pressure 24 hours? Effidac 24 does. Other pills last 6 hours or 12, but one Effidac relieves 24 hours. Effidac, keep sinus pressure from coming back.
We remember our lives in pictures. But the parts in between those pictures, long stretches of life, we too easily forget. Presenting the Nikon Light Touch Zoom, the world's smallest 35mm autofocus zoom. You will take more pictures. You will remember more, and perfectly. Nikon, we take the world's greatest pictures, yours.
Take one Christmas Eve, add a little whimsy, stir gently, then toss in a heaping scoop of diamond walnuts. That's what holiday memories are made of.
Welcome back. Now look, isn't that the prettiest little thing? 2 little Christmas dinners all stuffed on their own, stuffed with oysters, just like they did in Victorian times, right? Now, let's get rid of that. Put that down there for a minute. Now let's get on to something else that's Victorian. All over the world, I've even had these in Hong Kong. There's chestnuts, roasted chestnuts, and they're sold on the street corner by a guy who's selling them in a little bag, and they put the bad ones in the bottom. You remember, you get 3 good ones on the top and 4 bad ones on the bottom. Most people don't eat chestnuts because they don't understand them. So let's talk about chestnuts for a minute, first of all. First of all, when you buy them, make sure that they're fat and they're shiny and they're full. See, you pick them over and be very careful. Nice, shiny, full ones like that. And then, if you're going to roast them, you have to do this. You have to make a cut in there and a cut across there. Now, can you see that? There's a cut across there and cut across there. And that lets the steam come out, because if you don't let the steam come out, they'll explode and go all over the place and cover you with stuff. They're floury. Now, these are chestnuts, which I started to roast during the break, okay? And I'll show you. I cooked them in this pan. Now, this pan is called a marronnier. It's got holes in it so the flames can come through. And if you haven't got one of these, you can use one of those. That's a heat reduction pan. And if you've got an electric stove, which a lot of people have, then you just take the chestnuts that you've cut with that little cross and put them directly on the element and cook them. And when they're cooked, you get them out because they're hot, and you just give them a little tap like that, and then you pull the skin off. Hot, and and then what you do, this is awful, you get a lump of butter, and you put a lump of butter on the top, and you put a little bit of salt on the top, and this is how you learn to speak with a British accent. Put it in your mouth like hot. Lovely. It nourishes you. It's smooth. It's like the best potatoes you ever have. Lovely. Now, what you can also do with chestnuts is to boil them. Now, if you're going to boil them, what you have to do is to slit them all the way round. As you put the point of the knife in, and you drag it all the way around until it's actually cut right through. You're not cutting the chestnut in half, okay? Then you put them in boiling water, and you take them out. I put some in just to show you, and these are very hot, okay? And you pop the skin off, and there it comes out. Now these, wow, that's hot. These are the chestnuts that you use for stuffing. Now, if you can't get fresh chestnuts, like this one, there, see? You use dry ones. Real dry chestnuts. They come from Italy, they come from China. And what you do is soak them 24 hours in white wine. Now, the white wine gives them a great flavor. They smell a little dry, because dried things smell a little bit weird sometimes, so that's okay. And then you boil them, and they come up like that. And then, so when you want to make stuffing, all you do is get either your boiled chestnuts, see, here's the boiled ones, the real boiled ones, we did, or you get the dried ones that you've soaked in white wine and cooked for 20 minutes. You chop them up with a little bit of onion, a little bit of breadcrumbs, just to give it a little body, maybe an egg, whatever you want to put in there, but it's stuffing. And you just poke it in the back end of whatever you're going to poke it in the back end of. I mean, if you're going to cook a whole wild boar, be my guest, most people have a chicken. So that's what you do.
Is someone special expecting something special from you? Don't disappoint them. Send it express mail. Overnight delivery starting at just $9.95. Even on Christmas Day. Express mail from your post office.
Robert Wagner hosts Legends of Hollywood, weekdays premiering Monday, December 26th at 5 on TLC.
You know how to listen. You listen with your whole body, your hands, your eyes, your face. You are a confidant. Nothing is more comfortable than the sound of your voice. Sprint wants to reward you for that. Introducing Time Bank, the only program that credits you with 1 free minute for every 5 you spend on the phone, month after month, automatically.
Finally, a long-distance calling program for people like us. People who really know how important relationships are.
That's why Time Bank is perfect for me. For every 5 minutes I spend on the phone, I get 1 free. So can you. Call now and Sprint will switch you for free. Then all you have to do is be yourself. There's no limit to the amount of free time you can earn. Call now and Sprint will start you off with an extra bonus. 60 free minutes. Finally, somebody understands the way we spend time on the phone.
Imagine that, being rewarded for something that comes naturally.
Call now, 1-800-621-7491.
Hi there, welcome back. I want to talk to you about something else that's really misunderstood this time of year, Brussels sprouts. Now this is a Brussels sprout tree. I know you've ever seen these. They grow like this. They grow under the spaghetti trees in Italy, actually. But you can not just, this is where they come off, and this is how you get Brussels sprouts, right? You didn't know that, did you? But you can do a lot more than just eat them. I made a Christmas tree out of one. Just look at that for a pretty, pretty thing. That's just Brussels sprouts growing in the field, put some peppers on it, stick in a bit of wood. It's a nice thing to do, no matter what you're celebrating. So let's put these Brussels sprouts over here for a moment, and let me show you something really nice. Now, first of all, I've got some mashed potatoes. This is a dish that you will not believe. I'm going to separate the egg. Now, you know how to separate an egg. You just pour it from one half shell to the other. Put the egg yolk into the potatoes. This is a rich dish. This is a festival dish. This is a party dish. We are not counting calories. We are paying no attention at all to the specter of cholesterol. We're putting 2 egg yolks in there. And we're going to put in, oh Lord, don't even tell anybody. We're going to put a little bit of butter in there. And it's the festive season. We're going to put about a couple tablespoonfuls of cream in there. And then we're going to get the masher and some pepper, because you always put pepper into mashed potatoes. And we're just going to mash the whole lot up together. Now, we had a whole lot of those chestnuts that we boiled, okay? And what we're going to do now is get the chestnuts that we boiled, these ones here, see, that we opened the skins of, and we're going to get the nice ones, put them on one side, and we're going to put, you can see all this, all right, put these bits of chestnut in with the mashed potatoes. Now, mashed potatoes, this is really cold to Newcastle, because mashed potatoes on their own are just lovely, but mashed potatoes with chestnuts, this is unbelievable. And this is something you can really spend a little time doing and know that you're going to produce a dish that nobody's ever had before. They're going to say, oh, wow, that is so good. And you will get umpteen proposals of marriage, none of them serious, because proposals made on a full stomach are never really valid. Unless you've had one, you can write and tell me, but there you are. So there's our mashed potatoes with the chestnuts in it. Right. Now, what we're going to do here I put some Brussels sprouts on while it gets hot. I put some Brussels sprouts on to show you the Brussels sprouts I got raised on in England. They boiled them, they boiled them, they boiled them. Look at those. They were that color. They tasted awful. They gave British boarding houses the reputation that they're still trying to live down. Yuck, but there are nice ways to do it. Now look, let's go here with this fry pan and a whole bunch of, a little bit of oil. Okay, some mushrooms. Dump those in there and cook them very, very quickly with not just a little bit of oil, but a little bit of salt, a little tiny bit of salt. Okay. A little bit of aniseed. Now you can buy this and be generous with it. Get a good handful of it. Put that in, and you'll hear them pop. And then in with the mushrooms, we'll put a little bit of white wine. And we'll just let that cook for a couple of minutes, fast as we can. Whoops, don't want that to catch fire. Now why does that always happen to me? It's the story of my life that things catch fire when they shouldn't. It doesn't have to catch fire. It's just because I had the gas up too high. All right, don't worry. A little bit of pepper. And now, Brussels sprouts. Now, how do you do a Brussels sprout? Well, look, let me show you. You get it like that, and then you cut a little cross in the bottom of each one. You just cut a little cross in there. That's to let the heat go in. Done all these. So in goes the Brussels sprouts, right? In goes the whole chestnuts, the big ones. We had the boiled ones, all right? And we just stir the whole thing around, and we put into it, look at that, a little bit of extra white wine. And this is the time when we put some salt in there. Now, why do we put salt in there? So the things will stay green. We put this on when they first go in, and we keep the heat up high. That's right, we keep it up high, and put a little bit of salt on top of it, and toss it all together with that spoon over it. Now this is you can tip one person to doing this. This is very easy, pretty, bright thing to do. Now, see how those Brussels sprouts, because they've got high heat under them, because they've got a little bit of salt on them, they have got that color coming up, that lovely yellow color. The wine is disappearing. See, I don't know whether you can see, but the wine is almost evaporated off the bottom, but everything's cooking in the steam. Okay? Now, whoops, put that one back in there. What we need to do is to find ourselves a really nice plate while that's happening. Get rid of that horror show. And everything cooking in there. We get the mashed potatoes. What do we do with the mashed potatoes? Here we are. And we make something nice happen, all right? We take the mashed potatoes out and put them around the edge of the plate. And you can do these things while you're getting on with it. Put them around the edge of the plate. Make a big hole in the middle. Push it out so you've got a nice hole in there. And take your Brussels sprouts and your aniseed and all that nice juice and put them into the middle and pile them up and exult in your food. Say, this is a party. Brussels sprouts. And people will say, wow, Brussels sprouts, anise? Is that aniseed? Mushrooms? I'll be right back.
Dead easy and indecently delicious. Peasant's Choice Cookbook with more of the best recipes from the urban peasant. Over 200 of James Barber's simply and downright sinfully wonderful dishes. Everything from six-pack stew to samosas, plus full-color photos, behind-the-scenes shots, cooking tips, and amusing anecdotes by James. Peasant's Choice, just $16.95 plus $4 shipping and handling. To order, call 1-800-561-9966. Ask for Operator 6.
With the iced tea pot by Mr. Coffee, you can make delicious fresh brewed iced tea in about 10 minutes for pennies a glass. So if you're under the spell of expensive bottled iced teas, snap out of it. The iced tea pot by Mr. Coffee.
It's
It's decision-making time in New Britain, Connecticut.
Wow, look at that socket set.
You see, New Britain's the home of Stanley.
What do you think? The electric stapler or the screwdriver set?
And while it's no easy task,
Glue gun? What glue gun?
making the best possible products all year long,
Oh yeah, moms love these things.
it's even tougher deciding
I just don't know.
which makes the best gift.
Does he have a Stanley garage door opener?
Doesn't everybody?
Look for great Stanley gift ideas at leading retailers.
Cold sufferers, if your pill's so good, how come it doesn't work 24 hours? Efferdac 24 does. Other pills last 6 hours or 12, but one Efferdac relieves 24 hours. Efferdac keeps cold symptoms from coming back.
Tuesday nights on the Learning Channel. They were pirates' hideaways, castaways' prisons. Bounty hunters had plundered there. Empires coveted them. Surrounded by oceans and lost in time, these are the places where unknown riches live. Don't miss a new series that captures the spirit of a swashbuckling era and the people whose legends endure. Treasure Islands. Tuesday nights at 9:30 beginning December 27th on the Learning Channel.
Now, just something else different for the festivities. Everybody knows about booze at Christmas. Try something else. I got some cranberry sauce here. Now, you can have your cranberry sauce you didn't eat for the turkey, all right? Or you can put cranberry juice in there. You add some fizzy water and just put it in there. And you've got a blender or a whisk. You can do it with any of those things, but I like to do it in here because it makes bubbles. Whiz it up until it's all foamy. All right, you want to make it even foamier, you add a little tiny bit of sugar. Whizzes it up. And then you take this and you pour it into nice glasses. And nobody knows that it's not champagne. Now, if you do want to do it with champagne and cranberry sauce, you don't have to put it in the whizzer. And then you get a slice of lemon. And you put that in there. And what more can you want? That's Christmas. That's celebration. It's the winter solstice. Have a great one, whatever you do. If you don't split the skins of chestnuts before you cook them, they'll explode because there's all that steam builds up in there, all that nice juice. That's the juice that's in all vegetables. So try cooking things in the minimum amount of water every time. Let their own juices do it. Well, there you are. Some different things for a different festival. No matter what you call it, what you do, it's the middle of the other season. All right, we had a nice time. Look what we did. We got roast chestnuts to start people off with, and we got that great chicken involtini. We did that nice dish. That's really nice. That's rich with Brussels sprouts and mushrooms and stuff like that. Really, really nice things to do. And we made a great drink. I can drive home with no problems. I got company coming, okay? Excuse me. Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you.
We'll show you how to make an old-fashioned feast, from the glazed ham to the eggnog and hot cider, as TLC's Holiday Kitchen checks into Yvonne's cookbook next.
Thanks to your local cable company, you're watching the Learning Channel.
Me again. I was telling you about the computer that thinks it's a toy. Pico. It's from Sega. Sega! Its software is called Storyware. Turn the page. It changes right on your TV screen. See? While she's playing Winnie the Pooh, she's learning all about numbers. With Mickey's blast into the past, he's having fun with history. And while he's playing Magic Crayons, he's learning to animate his own cartoon show. Or maybe you'd rather your kid just watch TV.
The world is now a little different, a little sharper, because J.A. Henkel's, makers of the world's premier knives, has developed a way to improve them. It's called SCT, Sinter Metal Component Technology, and it's exclusively Henkel's. So only Henkel's knives will be even sharper than before and will stay sharper longer. J.A. Henkel's, the world's finest cutlery since 1731.
To help start your collection, our $35 4-star 3-inch paring knife is now $19.99.
A long time ago, in a place far, far away, a baby was born in a remote little town. A baby who would change the course of human history. Now, in celebration of the season, TLC recalls that wondrous moment in time, separating the facts from the myths by looking back on the genesis of a great religion. Join us for a very special evening, our Ancient Journeys Holiday Special, tonight beginning at 6 on the Learning Channel. Join James Barber for all new episodes of Cooking with the Urban Peasant, weekdays at 2 Eastern on TLC. Chef Marcel Desaulniers, he's tempted you with his fabulous confections, sweet delights dripping in chocolate. He started with dessert, now he's ready for the main course. Everybody loves a good burger, and Chef Marcel shows you how to make the best you've ever tasted, with recipes that go beyond basic beef. So join him on Death by Chocolate and his new show, The Burgermeister, weekdays at 2:30 and 4:30 on the Learning Channel. It's time to see what else is on the stove inside TLC's Holiday Kitchen as our cooking extravaganza continues next on the Learning Channel.
Hi, I'm Yvonne. Welcome to my kitchen. The theme of today's show is At Home for the Holidays. Here's a brief glance at today's recipes. Let's start with the maple and mustard glazed ham with poached fruit. Serve it with oven roasted yams. A sweet finale to your holiday menu is a layered bread pudding served warm with a dusting of powdered sugar. Finally, we'll decorate for the holidays, and I'll show you how to create handmade stockings for everyone in the family. Those are the special holiday recipes and decorating ideas I'll be teaching you today on Yvonne's Cookbook. Holidays are special in many ways. Food, of course, is one of them. I have a made-ahead ham recipe that I know your family will enjoy. It's a maple and mustard glazed ham with poached fruit. Here's what you'll need to make it. And by the way, don't worry, if you can't write it all down now, I'll be repeating it when we're through. This is what you'll need for this wonderful ham. A pre-cooked smoked ham with the bone, whole cloves, Dijon mustard, brown sugar, maple syrup, apple juice, tawny port or additional apple juice, dates, figs, and we're going to have oven roasted yams, dried apples, and watercress for garnish. This is a wonderful holiday dish, and sometimes, you know, people think that you can only eat a ham like this during the winter or the fall. That's not true, because this is a wonderful recipe that you can actually use anytime, and your family will be able to eat off of it for days. So let me show you how we'll make it. You see, I have a ham here with the bone in it. And that's what I like to use, because especially when you're through cutting all of the, ham and you're through eating off of it, it's great to use that ham bone for a soup. But feel free to do this recipe with just a canned ham. That's fine too. So let me just flip it over. And what I want to do first is just cut a little bit more ham off, fat off, excuse me. I've already cut quite a bit of it off, but I just want to take a little bit more of it off. And the fat gives it flavoring, but you want to make it as lean as possible by just leaving a thin coat of fat, so you don't have to have too much extra fat in there. Now I'm going to score the ham, and all I'm really doing is putting in little pockets for all the flavorings to go into, and how I do that is by doing slits one way and then the other way. So first you make cuts one direction and then you go the opposite direction. Because what we're going to do, we want to make sure all of everything that I'm going to show you how to put in here gets in the ham, and so that's why you make these. In fact, what I'm using today are dried cloves, and I'm just going to fit them into each of these little sections. Can you see that? Now, did you know that the clove is actually a dried bud from a tropical flower? Thought that was pretty interesting. I never knew where cloves came from. They smell so wonderful, and I'll actually be showing you some other ways today that you can use cloves. I really think that the smell just gets you in the mood for the holidays. I mean, it lasts for hours, it lingers. Okay, I think we've got enough there. You can put as many or as little as you would like. Now I'm going to put the mustard. Today I'm using Dijon mustard, but you could put whatever kind of mustard you would like, and you cover the whole ham with mustard, a light coat, and that's part of the seasoning that will seep all the way into the ham later on. Now I'm going to take some brown sugar, and what I'm really going to do is kind of pack it all over the ham. And it's okay that it falls, because all these wonderful juices will mingle together eventually. But try to cover the whole ham. You can take a little bit more time than I am. And remember to keep your pen and paper handy, because I don't want you to miss any of these ingredients, and I'm going to give them to you again when I'm done doing this. Now let me just wipe my hands off for a second, because we're through with that part of it. Now this is easy. You just pour maple syrup all over the ham. That's what gives it the sweet flavoring along with the sugar. And you could use honey too, whichever you would like, whichever flavor you like best. And then take apple juice and just pour it directly into the pan, or you can put a little bit on the top if you'd like. The only reason I put it directly into the pan is so that it doesn't wash the sugar off and the mustard. That's it for right now. I'm going to put it in the oven. Now, I want you to preheat your oven to 350, and you're going to put this in for an hour and a half total. But during the first hour, while your ham is in there, I want you to do the next step. Just take some dried figs or prunes. Today I'm using apples. You can actually use raisins. I mean, no hole to this. And today I'm adding tawny port, but you can also use apple juice. And all you need to do is just stir it together, and you want these to marinate for a good 15 minutes, but you can do it up to an hour, because after an hour, you take the ham out, you add the fruit, put it back in for the last half hour. So the total baking time is an hour and a half. Now, this is ready. Oh, this smells so good. Let me get this together. This is so wonderful, and this will last for many servings. So you got that now? You put the ham in for an hour, and while that hour's going on, you marinate your fruit, and then you pull the ham out, and then you add your fruit and put it back in for a half hour on the same temperature. On the same temperature. And like I said, you could add raisins, you could do like combination, even add some cranberries if you like. Now I also roasted some oven roasted yams, and all I did was put a little olive oil on them and roasted them in the oven for about an hour. Isn't that beautiful? I just think this is so gorgeous. It smells so wonderful. All the flavors are combined, and it's really simple, and you're really, really going to enjoy it. So here's once again what you'll need to make this wonderful maple mustard glazed ham. You'll need a pre-cooked smoked ham with or without the bone, cloves, Dijon mustard, brown sugar, maple syrup, apple juice, tawny port or additional apple juice, dates, figs, you can even use raisins if you want, the roasted yams, dried apples, and you can put a little watercress for garnish if you'd like. What a perfect entree to grace the center of your holiday table. When we come back, it's dessert time, and we'll make a warm bread pudding, so don't go away.
The Ancient Journeys Holiday Special tonight beginning at 6 on the Learning Channel.
Just because you have a cold, why suffer with it? Get the 24-hour relief of Epidac 24.
One pill, once a day. Why suffer?
Only Epidac works 24 hours. 24-hour Epidac takes the suffering out of a cold.
The world is now a little different, a little sharper, because J.A. Henkel's, makers of the world's premier knives, has developed a way to improve them. It's called SCT, Sinter Metal Component Technology, and it's exclusively Henkel's. So only Henkel's knives will be even sharper than before and will stay sharper longer. J.A. Henkel's, the world's finest cutlery since 1731.
To help start your collection, our $35 4-star 3-inch paring knife is now $19.99.
Take one Christmas Eve, add a little whimsy, stir gently, then toss in a heaping scoop of diamond walnuts. That's what holiday memories are made of.
Me again. I was telling you about the computer that thinks it's a toy. Pico. It's from Sega. Sega! Its software is called Storyware. Turn the page. It changes right on your TV screen. See? While she's playing Winnie the Pooh, she's learning all about numbers. With Mickey's blast into the past, he's having fun with history. And while he's playing Magic Crayons, he's learning to animate his own cartoon show. Or maybe you'd rather your kid just watch TV.
It's decision-making time in New Britain, Connecticut.
Wow, look at the socket set.
You see, New Britain's the home of Stanley.
What do you think? The electric stapler or the screwdriver set?
And while it's no easy task,
Glue gun? What glue gun?
making the best possible products all year long,
Oh yeah, moms love these things.
it's even tougher deciding
I just don't know.
which makes the best gift.
Does he have a Stanley garage door opener?
Doesn't everybody?
Look for great Stanley gift ideas at leading retailers.
Robert Wagner hosts Legends of Hollywood, weekdays premiering Monday, December 26th at 5 on TLC.
Welcome back. The holiday season is filled with warm spirit, fond memories, and traditional recipes. Our rich bread pudding layered with raisins and apples is just such a recipe. Here's what you'll need to make it. You'll need eggs, heavy cream or half and half, milk, sugar, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, egg bread, golden raisins, apples, and a little powdered sugar for the top. My mother's been making bread pudding for years, and I'm going to give you a little bit of her recipe and a new twist on the traditional version of a bread pudding. So here we go. First, we just have to get our eggs in a nice size bowl. Today I'm using 3. And I'm just going to whisk them for 1 second. And then I'm going to add some heavy cream. But feel free to use half and half. And if you even want to lower the heavy cream a little bit and add a little bit more milk or use low-fat milk, it will still come out very good. I'm putting in the milk now, and sugar, and vanilla. That gives it that wonderful smell. Ground cinnamon, and nutmeg. Now you just whisk it together. You want to make sure that the egg has mixed in nicely with the milk and the cream. You want to make sure that the spices aren't clumping together, because cinnamon has a tendency to do that sometimes. Now it's done. Wasn't that easy? Just takes a couple of seconds there. All right, now what you want to do is take your baking dish and cover it with softened butter, which I've done already. And then you take your bread. Now today I'm using egg bread, and if you notice what's different here, remember I told you to be a little twist on an old version, is usually when you have bread pudding, you have just bits and pieces of bread. But as you see, I'm using half slices of bread. And you just arrange it in the pan. You can put it different directions. Whatever you'd like to do is just to fit it in there. And then we're going to put a layer of fruit. That also makes it very special. Now, this would be a good time to use some bread that's not necessarily very fresh. I'm using golden raisins, but you can use regular raisins. And then put another layer of bread, which again is something that you normally don't do. And as you see, I'm putting it at all different angles. So you can just make your own design of the bread. And then you put another layer of apples. And again, please don't hold to any rules here. You can use whatever apples you have around the house, because the texture of the apple really isn't going to make that much of a difference, because this is going to soak so much that it's just going to give you your apple flavoring more than it's going to give you a specific kind of texture. Now remember, I'm going to repeat all of these ingredients when we're done, so you won't miss anything. Keep that pen and paper handy. All right, so what I did was a layer of bread, a layer of fruit, a layer of bread, and then another layer of fruit. Now what we do is take our mixture and pour it all in the pan, making sure that it soaks in and gets everywhere. You want to get every corner. You want to make sure that it soaks in between the bread very nicely. Now, one of the best parts of this recipe is that it's something you definitely want to make in advance. So I want you to make it at least 24 hours in advance, which is great on a holiday when you're entertaining, because you're getting, half of the work out of the way by doing it in advance. Now what you're going to do is cover it with foil. Now, it's not so much that this recipe has to chill, the reason that we're doing it the night before, but basically just because it needs time to soak in really well. So that's why I made a batch yesterday, and I'm going to put it in the oven now. Now, you need to put it in the oven at 300, I think that's right, yeah, 300 for 30 minutes, covered. Then, 30 minutes later, I want you to take it out, uncover it, and then put it back in the oven the same temperature to let it brown, which is what I've done with this batch. So it's nice and golden brown on the top. It smells wonderful. You smell the cinnamon, you smell the nutmeg, and it looks different. It's really pretty. Look at it. Like I said, because most bread puddings are all the little pieces. So let me get a nice serving here for you. Now what you do is garnish it, and most people don't do that, so that's why this makes it extra special. You put some fresh mint and any berries you'd like, anything that you have that's seasonal that you can get. Oh, excuse me, that was a berry that fell. But anyway, I'm putting strawberries, and now Last little touch, some powdered sugar. Isn't that pretty? And so delicious too. So once again, here's what you need to make warm bread pudding. You'll need eggs, heavy cream or half and half, milk, sugar, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, egg bread, or any kind of bread that you have around is great. Golden raisins, regular raisins, whatever kind of apples, and a little powdered sugar on the top. This recipe for bread pudding will be another reason that the whole family looks forward to the holiday season. When we come back, we'll learn how to make one-of-a-kind stockings to hang on the mantle, so don't go away.
We remember our lives in pictures, but the parts in between those pictures, long stretches of life, we too easily forget. Introducing the Nikon Nice Touch Zoom, a Nikon 35mm zoom for under $129. You will take more pictures. You will remember more, and perfectly. Nikon, we take the world's greatest pictures, yours.
Is someone special expecting something special from you? Don't disappoint them. Send it express mail. Overnight delivery starting at just $9.95. Even on Christmas Day. Express mail from your post office.
Tuesday nights on the Learning Channel. They were pirates' hideaways, castaways' prisons. Bounty hunters have plundered there. Empires coveted them. Surrounded by oceans and lost in time, these are the places where unknown riches live. Don't miss a new series that captures the spirit of a swashbuckling era and the people whose legends endure. Treasure Islands, Tuesday nights at 9:30 beginning December 27th on the Learning Channel.
This may look like an ordinary compact disc, but actually, it's a futuristic cinematic adventure game, an interactive encyclopedia, or even blockbuster Hollywood movies. This is CDI, a new world standard in multimedia home entertainment from Philips Electronics, the makers of Philips and Magnavox CDI. You might expect to pay over $1,000 for an entertainment system that does this much. But now you can own a Magnavox or Philips CDI player starting as low as $299. Select from more than 200 titles beginning at only $15. If you buy the basic Magnavox CDI now, we'll include Compton's Interactive Encyclopedia valued at $150, plus a $50 bonus title. And if you act before December 31st, we'll also throw in Burn Cycle, the hot new cinematic adventure game for a total value of $250, free during this limited time offer. Call the number on your screen for the location of your nearest CDI retailer.
Welcome back. One of my favorite parts of the holidays is all of the decorating, and I want to share some fantastic ideas with you. I'm going to show you how to make a Christmas stocking, and I just want to share with you some wonderful holiday accent ideas. They're inexpensive, easy to make, so let's begin. First, I'd like to share with you one of my favorites. This is a candle holder made from an apple. Let me just show you how to make it. It's so easy. You just take an apple and an apple core remover. These are very inexpensive. You firmly hold your apple and press the core holder right into the center of the apple, pull out firmly, and it comes out very easy. And then all you have to do is take an inexpensive, these are very inexpensive, you can get them at any party store, they're artificial leaves. You just place it right inside the apple and then firmly put the candle inside of the apple, and now you have a beautiful candle holder. And everyone will think you're so clever because they've never seen them before. Next, let me show you another one of my favorites. Now, this is how it looks when it's completely done. It's, I guess I would just call it my orange clove candle holder. Let me take it apart for you and show you how it works. Let me just remove the candle. First, what you do is take a whole orange and hollow out the center, but just leaving a little bit at the bottom because we're going to put the candle back in. Then you take an ice pick like I've already started here, and you make holes. Very simple. You just firmly make the holes, and then you take cloves and press them right into the orange. And then you take any type of ribbon. I like the kind of ribbon that has the wire in it because it's firm. And you're just making a little holder by wrapping the ribbon at the bottom. You place the orange on top, and then you take a little dripless candle and you just place it right into the orange. Isn't that beautiful? And it smells great too. And sometimes what I even do is just make, dozens of them and put them all around the house. Because as you can see, it takes no time to do. Next, I'd like to show you an idea that my mother really did use this Christmas. These little inexpensive picture frames. She used them as place cards. She put our names in it. You can see my name there. Or you can give them as party favors to people and put pictures inside of them. I just think that they're clever, and actually you can do this anytime, all year round at a dinner party. Let me show you, they're so easy to make. All you do is take the inexpensive frame, your glue gun, and let's say you were having a formal party, you could use a black frame or a gold frame. Anyway, just take a little bit of glue, just a dab will do you. I think a glue gun is a great investment too, because you'll find you'll be able to use it so many times. Today I'm using these very inexpensive jewels that you can get at any craft store, and you just press them into place, and you could cover the whole frame. You could cover them, again, as you see, I have candy canes. Those are very cheap. You could even use dried fruit. There's no limitation to these, and everyone will feel so personalized with them at the table with their names on them, or you could even put their pictures in them for them. Another thing that I love during the holidays is the smell of fresh potpourri. But again, this is an idea that you'll find that you can use all year round. Now, sometimes potpourri is very expensive. So what I do is buy the very cheap cedar shavings, and they come natural, they come dyed, like these are green and red. Just put them in a bowl and then add your own spices. Just put bay leaves in, and this is a Chinese herb here that smells wonderful. Just sprinkle those in, and then take cinnamon sticks and just snap them in whatever size pieces you would like and put those in the bowl, and little pine cones, and see you've made your own potpourri. Now, it really does save money doing it that way because, like I said, sometimes a little bag, it can be anywhere from $5 to $10, and so you're saving a lot of money. Let me show you another one of my favorites too. Using the same technique that we just did with the candle holder is taking the same technique, take an orange, put the holes in it with the ice pick, put the cloves in, tie it with a ribbon, and fill them up with a basket, and these will last literally for months because it just starts to dry from the inside. Then I want to show you about the Christmas stocking, so everyone can have their own Christmas stocking. Very simple. You just cut it out, felt, 2 pieces, then simply take string, stitch them around the edge here. Can't get easier than that. And then you can put a person's name on it if you would like. Here's my name. And that's very easy. You just take glue, very strong glue, and then sprinkle it with glitter, and then shake it off, and you've got the person's name. Another thing I think during the holidays is you'll have arrangements around the house, and you may have them up for weeks. So you want to make sure that you're not staying with the same look. You can take gold. These are very cheap. You get at any party store, and add them to whatever your arrangement is. And these very inexpensive, like gold beads. So for this week, you give it a different look. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, the personal touches displayed in your home at the holiday season make it all the more special for your family and guests. I hope you enjoyed today's recipes and lifestyle ideas. Thank you for watching. Until we open my cookbook again, bye-bye.
Thanks to your local cable company, you're watching the Learning Channel. This year, give a gift that won't end up in the attic or the hall closet. The Iced Teapot by Mr. Coffee. Great iced tea, glass after glass, the whole year round. In 2 and 3-quart sizes. Mr. Coffee. What'll he think of next?
Excuse me. I just want to turn your TV off and turn you on to the power of your kid's imagination. This is Pico from Sega. You know, Sega! It works with storybook software and this magic pen. Touch the storybook and images come alive right on your TV, interactively. Touch the learning pad and they can draw, color, they can even animate their own cartoons. Speaking of which, I'll turn your program back on now. See you real soon.
Cold sufferers, if your pill's so good, how come it doesn't work 24 hours? Efferdac 24 does. Other pills last 6 hours or 12, but one Efferdac relieves 24 hours. Efferdac keeps cold symptoms from coming back.
A long time ago, in a place far, far away, a baby was born in a remote little town. A baby who would change the course of human history. Now, in celebration of the season, TLC recalls that wondrous moment in time, separating the facts from the myths while looking back on the genesis of a great religion. Join us for a very special evening, our Ancient Journeys Holiday Special, tonight beginning at 6 on the Learning Channel. Join James Barber for all new episodes of Cooking with the Urban Peasant, weekdays at 2 Eastern on TLC. Chef Marcel Desaulniers, he's tempted you with his fabulous confections, sweet delights dripping in chocolate. He started with dessert, now he's ready for the main course. Everybody loves a good burger, and Chef Marcel shows you how to make the best you've ever tasted with recipes that go beyond basic beef. So join him on Death by Chocolate and his new show, The Burgermeister, weekdays at 2:30 and 4:30 on the Learning Channel. It's time to see what else is on the stove inside TLC's Holiday Kitchen as our cooking extravaganza continues next on the Learning Channel.
Today on Capril's Cafe, a holiday feast. Turkey breast with dried cranberry stuffing and colorful port sauce. Then surprise them with a pumpkin tart.
First thing we'll start with today is our port sauce, and then we'll move on to stuffing our turkey breast with the walnut dried cranberry stuffing. Now, to make the port sauce, you need a pan on a fairly high heat. And what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of olive oil, and we're going to saute some garlic and shallots. So we'll put those in. This is a nice hot pan already. Now, shallot is a French onion that's very sweet and mild. So that's why I like to add it to the sauce, so that it doesn't have a strong flavor to it. If you can't find a shallot, go ahead and just add a little bit of onion would work. Now we'll add some port sauce, about a cup. And we want to reduce this over a very high heat until we have about a half a cup of remaining. It doesn't have to be exact, so just about a half a cup. We're also going to add some dried cherries. Now, the dried cherries are going to give this depth of flavor. It will also be a thickening agent. This isn't going to be a real thick sauce. It'll be more like a jus or just a light stock that'll go over the turkey. Those go in. Now, don't worry, this should rapidly boil, so don't worry about that. That's fine. Then we'll add 3 cups of either chicken or turkey stock, either one that you want, or you could use a vegetable stock, although it won't have as much flavor. I also try to take all the fat off the top of the stock. You can do that by putting it in your refrigerator and then just scooping it off with a spoon or a skimmer. Then that way you reduce the fat in your sauce. And then we'll add that right to our port that's been reducing. And what that will let that do is reduce again, and what you're doing is making layers of flavor. And you just want to reduce it. Here, I'll show you this one that I have here. until it starts to get nice and thick. It gets a little bit glossy and the cherries get beautiful and plump. And this will be a wonderful sauce for our turkey. Speaking of turkey, we need to start the stuffing. And we have a beautiful turkey breast here. It's totally boneless. And what I'm going to do is butterfly it. And you can tell that there's a little piece missing here. There's no meat here, and this is thicker than this end. We want this to cook nice and even. We don't want this to be dried out and this to be raw. So I'm going to butterfly it by putting my knife in the thickest part of the turkey. And I don't want to cut all the way through, and then I just fold it over. If you want to, you could take a meat mallet and make this perfectly even too. Just right into that heavy part, and then I just press the meat. It just sort of moves into this area, and then I fold the turkey skin over it. If it's a little fat down here, you can also cut that part. Now our pan's on the burner, and it should be fairly hot. We'll add a little bit of unsalted butter. Now you want to watch with unsalted butter when you're sauteing, because it has a lower burning point, and so it's much easier to burn things or to make the butter turn brown or black if you go too far. And so you need to add stuff in a little bit sooner. Once it starts to bubble, go ahead and add, we're going to add some onions and shallots again because they're nice and sweet. And some garlic. And we'll saute those just until you can smell the aroma. You'll smell that aroma in your house and you know that they're done. You don't have to worry about it being till it's translucent, because I don't have a clue what translucent is supposed to mean.
This portion of the Learning Channel is brought to you in part by Nikon.
We remember our lives in pictures, but the parts in between those pictures, long stretches of life, we too easily forget. Presenting the Nikon Light Touch Zoom, the world's smallest 35mm autofocus zoom. You will take more pictures. You will remember more, and perfectly. Nikon, we take the world's greatest pictures, yours.
I was telling you about the computer that thinks it's a toy. Pico. It's from Sega. Sega! Its software is called Storyware. Turn the page. It changes right on your TV screen. See? While she's playing Winnie the Pooh, she's learning all about numbers. With Mickey's blast into the past, he's having fun with history. And while he's playing Magic Crayons, he's learning to animate his own cartoon show. Or maybe you'd rather your kid just watch TV.
Tuesday nights on the Learning Channel. They were pirates' hideaways, castaways' prisons. Bounty hunters have plundered there. Empires coveted them. Surrounded by oceans and lost in time, these are the places where unknown riches live. Don't miss a new series that captures the spirit of a swashbuckling era and the people whose legends endure. Treasure Islands, Tuesday nights at 9:30 beginning December 27th on the Learning Channel.
Now we have some cranberries. These are dried cranberries that I've soaked in about a quarter cup of red wine. And you'll see they're nice and plump now. They're a little bit dry and chewy when you first take them out of the package, which is great for salads. But in this, I want them to be nice and soft and have a little flavor of red wine. So we'll add that to our onion mixture. And you really don't have to worry about reducing this wine too long, because the cherries have absorbed, the cranberries have absorbed most of the wine already. So you just need to give it a little bit of a stir and let it reduce and kind of meld with the onion flavors a little bit. And we can turn that off. Now it's best to let this cool down, because you're going to be mixing the stuffing with raw eggs, and it's also going into turkey. And for safety's sake, I always make sure this is cold, my eggs are cold, and my turkey is cold. So it's very important to make sure all of those things are cold before you use them. And this just goes right into the stuffing. This is 2 cups of cube bread. Now you can use whatever type of bread you like, an onion bread or some flavored nut bread, a walnut bread, since we're using some fresh walnuts in here, that would be wonderful. And we'll add our walnuts and some eggs. Now I add the eggs first because the eggs will help hold the stuffing together in the middle of the turkey, and then we'll add some chicken stock to help moisten it. It'll really depend on what type of bread you're using, how much of that chicken stock you'll use. Sometimes I use a really heavy peasant bread with a thick crust on it, and then you really need a lot of chicken stock. If you use something like Wonder Bread or something like that, you won't need very much chicken stock at all. So we'll give this a little bit of a stir, and I just use my fingers because then I really know if the bread is absorbing the liquid or not. See, now there's quite a bit of liquid on here, and the cubes of bread are still pretty stiff, and so I can tell that with my fingers. I can't tell that with a spoon. Now we'll add a little bit of chicken stock, and I let this sit for a little while because you may need to add more chicken stock later as it sits. And we'll season it up with a little bit of fresh thyme and some rosemary, which is nice. Now most people put sage in their dressing, but I like to do things a little bit differently. So we'll add a little rosemary and thyme. If you want to add some sage, you could do that also. And of course we always need some cracked black pepper and salt, kosher salt to taste. And then I let this sit in the refrigerator. Let it, all the flavors absorb, and let it get ice cold. And I happen to have some that's nice and cold here. In our house, we love stuffing, so I always make a double batch of this and then cook the rest in a casserole covered with either the lid of the casserole or some foil, because everybody wants stuffing. So you take some good handfuls of the stuffing and press it right down the middle of the turkey that you've butterflied. Now if your turkey is huge, you can cut the breasts in half and then butterfly them from there and do 2 smaller turkeys, especially if you have a smaller oven. You can do this turkey any size. If you're having a big group, do 2 or 3. If it's just the 2 of you, get a smaller breast or a half a breast and do it that way. Now I have some butcher twine, and I'll run that to the middle of the turkey. Now there's all these fancy ways to tie a turkey up, but I just tie it in a knot. My hands are a little bit slippery. And you want to tie this as tight as you can in the middle, and then go out to the edges. Work this way and this way to tie it the rest of the way. And then let it get nice and cold so that you can handle it a little easier, and it's a much more solid roast by doing that. Now what I'll do is I've got a turkey that I put in the refrigerator, and we'll go get that out. It's nice and cold, so we'll be able to sear it. And this is a nice sized turkey. It's easy to handle, and it's going to fit in your oven too. So we have a pan on to heat, and again we want to get this nice and hot. And we'll use about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm using quite a bit of olive oil in this because it's a pretty large piece of meat that I'm searing, and so I want to make sure that I have enough oil to cover the pan and really get this seared well, because that's going to bring a lot of flavor to the turkey. Now, you're putting a large kind of wet roast into here with oil, so you need to be careful. You place the one end here and then lay it towards the front. So always push it away from you so you don't get splattered with oil. It's very dangerous. And just like if I was searing a roast or doing a piece of any steak or anything, don't play with it. Just let it sit there and get nice and caramelized and nice and brown, and you'll have such incredible flavor on the outside of the turkey that it seals in all the moisture, and you have just this wonderful caramel flavor. Always put it seam side down also when you go to sear it, because then it'll seal up where the stuffing could leak out or could sort of mush out the sides. And I'll show you one that I have that's been seared and finished in the oven. We'll put this one in the oven in just a second. This is one that we cooked, and you can see it's got a little bit of stuffing inside and then the beautiful turkey breast. And what I'll do is I'll take some of my sauce, And I just put a little bit over the top of it, and then I serve the rest in a boat on the side so that people can help themselves to each individual portion. And then we'll garnish this with a little bit of cranberry. And I think it'll be a festive, wonderful turkey for people to enjoy. Get my tongs and we'll turn this over, and you'll see, once we can get it loosened, see how it's starting to caramelize here? Now I try to make sure that both sides are caramelized. And we can put this in a 400-degree oven, which again will help to caramelize the outside. And we'll do that for about 15 minutes. And then we'll turn the oven temperature down a little bit and let it cook a little bit slower so it doesn't get dried out. So we'll put this in the oven. Now you can see that when I put this in the oven, I have room here. I can put a pie in here, or I can put some potatoes in here. It's much better than trying to put a whole turkey in that oven and cook other things. Well, I really think that your family and friends are going to love this turkey. Just the idea of not having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning makes me happy. So here's the recipe. For the port sauce, you'll need 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 2 cloves of garlic chopped, 3 shallots chopped, 1 cup of good quality pork. Now that's the best pork that you can afford to buy. 3 cups of chicken or turkey stock, 1/4 cup dried cherries. Now I didn't finish my sauce because I hadn't finished reducing, so to season it, you'll put 1 tablespoon of fresh chopped thyme, a teaspoon of cracked black pepper, and salt to taste. For the turkey breast, you'll need a 5-pound boneless turkey half breast, salt and freshly ground pepper to taste, a 1/2 cup of dried cranberries, 1/4 cup red wine, 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1 medium onion diced, 3 shallots chopped, 3 cloves of garlic chopped, and 2 cups of diced bread. Now you could use whatever bread you like. If you want to use an onion bread or a nut bread, that would be great. 1 1/2 cups chicken stock, or just enough to moisten the bread. 3 eggs, a 1/2 cup of walnuts chopped, a 1/2 teaspoon chopped fresh thyme or a 1/4 teaspoon dry thyme, 1/4 teaspoon fresh rosemary or an 1/8 teaspoon of dried rosemary, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil for searing the turkey. Now you cook that turkey at 400 degrees for 15 minutes, and then you'll turn the temperature down to about 350 for another 45 minutes, or until it reaches an internal temperature of 155 degrees. Next, we'll get started on our pumpkin tart that's not so ordinary.
Just imagine if all the people who want the iced teapot by Mr. Coffee dropped a hint at the same time. Delicious, fresh brewed iced tea, whenever you want it. The iced teapot by Mr. Coffee.
The world is now a little different, a little sharper, because J.A. Henkel's, makers of the world's premier knives, has developed a way to improve them. It's called SCT, Sinter Metal Component Technology, and it's exclusively Henkel's. So only Henkel's knives will be even sharper than before and will stay sharper longer. J.A. Henkel's, the world's finest cutlery since 1731.
To help start your collection, our $35 4-star 3-inch paring knife is now $19.99.
Take one Christmas Eve, add a little whimsy, stir gently, then toss in a heaping scoop of diamond walnuts. That's what holiday memories are made of.
Capril's Cafe Favorites is a must for every good cook's library. Over 130 easy and delicious recipes, including all the dishes Chef Capril has prepared on her shows. At only $21.95 plus shipping and handling, the beautiful hardbound edition with Capril's practical mix and match menu suggestions makes an ideal gift. For bank card orders, call 1-800-917-9100 or send check or money order to Cafe Favorites, 98 Main Street, Tiburon, California, 94920.
True confessions about calling circles from MCI friends and family customers.
He asked us for a lot of friends and family's names.
I gave him my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, my friend in Florida.
It just wasn't worth it.
Out of my 10 people, only one I got the discount.
To make it easier, simpler.
You want it simple? You got it. Just switch to AT&T and get AT&T True USA savings. Spend $25 a month on AT&T and we subtract 20% from your AT&T long distance bill. Switch now and save to anyone, anytime, anywhere in the USA, guaranteed.
Simple is better.
With AT&T, you save on calls to everyone. That's why 2 out of 3 MCI friends and family basic or primetime users will save more with True USA savings.
I'm going back to AT&T.
We'll switch you for free. Just call 1-800-PICK-ATT. We're standing by for your call.
Just switch back.
Switch now. Call 1-800-PICK-ATT.
Your true voice.
Now we return to Capril's Cafe.
Now let's get started on our pumpkin tart with the pecan crust. And to do that, we'll start with the crust first. We'll take 2 cups of toasted pecans that have been cooled, and we'll place them in a food processor bowl. And then what we'll do is we'll just grind these up a bit, just to break them up a bit and start the process. And you just want to do it just enough to start breaking apart the nuts. If you go too far, all the oil will come up from the nuts and it'll make it very greasy. And to help that, we'll add some sugar, about 1/4 cup. And that'll actually help absorb some of the oil from the nuts and it won't make your tart greasy. Oh, let's add a little bit of cinnamon to that too. And then we'll finish grinding that up. And then well, not so slowly. I mean, you don't have to worry about drizzling it in. But we'll add some melted butter. Once I see that it's starting to get ground, then I slowly start to add it in. You don't have to worry about it being incorporated or if it's going to break, it won't. And then you just mix it until it's nice and ground, and you can actually press it down and you can see that you can form a crust. Let's put that back in before I spray. Now, when I use a flan pan, they have little grooves in the sides, and if you want your crust to come out beautifully, then you need to get in those grooves. So I spray it with a vegetable spray. That way I know I've got my grooves covered and my tart comes out beautifully. So to start the crust, what I do is I take some of the nut mixture and I put it around the perimeter first. Make sure and take your blade out before you stick your hands in there so you don't get a surprise. So I put it around the perimeter and then I push it up. And I go around here first, and then I take the leftover nuts and I put it and press it in the middle. And this is one that I've allowed to sit in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. And what that does is that sets the butter and it gets you a little bit stiffer of a crust so that when you're dealing with putting the pumpkin mixture in, it's nice and set, it's not going to fall off the sides. Now to make the pumpkin filling, which is really wonderful and creamy and spicy, we'll take some pumpkin puree. If you'd like to use a squash puree, you could. Let's get that all out though. And 3 eggs. The eggs are going to help set up the custard. Now you could make this in a mixer if you like, but I'm too lazy to wash my mixer, so I use just a whisk. And you could, if you wanted to, if you're not lazy like me, you could whisk your eggs in another bowl and then add them to your pumpkin mixture. But what I do is I just take my whisk and I actually break apart those egg yolks. And then I start to incorporate it into the squash or the pumpkin puree. Actually, Hubbard squash makes a really beautiful puree. It's a little bit oranger than some pumpkin. Once I get the eggs incorporated enough that it's a solid mass, I'll add a cup of 1/2 and 1/2. And you don't have to whisk that quite so hard. And 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Now, if you're pressing your brown sugar into the mixer, or excuse me, not mixer, the measuring cup, then you need to break it apart. That'll make it a lot easier to mix. Then we're going to add something a little bit different, and that's some crystallized ginger. The crystallized ginger is wonderful, but it is a little bit spicy, so you want to make sure that you cut it up into little dice. Make sure it's a fine dice so nobody gets a big surprise when they bite into your lovely pumpkin tart. We'll add about 1 tablespoon of that, a little bit of vanilla, Now, when you add your spices, you can adjust your spices however you want. If you want it more spicy, go ahead, add more. We'll add some cinnamon, a little ground ginger to go with our crystallized ginger, and then a little bit, not quite as much as the ginger or the allspice, or the cinnamon. We'll add allspice, nutmeg, and cloves. Those are stronger, so you want to be careful with them. Oops, not that much clove. Now let's mix this, and it just goes right into the tart shell from here. Really easy, but it's a little bit different than just a plain old pumpkin pie. Right into the shell. Then this will go into a 350-degree oven. Now this will go on a sheet pan, and then we'll place it in a 350-degree oven. And I put it on the sheet pan so that it's a little easier to handle. That way it doesn't pop up and spill all over your beautiful silk blouse. So let's take this to the oven, and I cook this just until when I insert it with a knife, the knife comes out clean, and that'll be about 30 minutes. And your house will smell great too. So let's go over here, and I have one that I've already finished up, and it's nice and cool, so we'll garnish it. And we're going to garnish this with a little bit of whipped cream. Now you could use other things if you wanted to use some fresh cranberries around the side. That would look really pretty. Or what I'm going to do is pipe a rosette in the middle. And then I'm going to pipe a few little stars on the outside. And what I always try to do is to do an odd number. And then we'll put a little mint and some, this is just a touch of cinnamon. And I'm just sprinkling it on the whipped cream. And here's your mint, and I think everybody is going to love this pumpkin tart. Here's the recipe. For the crust, you'll need 2 cups of toasted pecans, a 1/4 cup of sugar, 3 tablespoons melted butter, 1/2 teaspoon ground cinnamon. Then for the pumpkin filling, you could use pumpkin puree, 1.5 cups, or you could substitute a Hubbard squash, or maybe delicata would be wonderful too. 3 eggs, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of half and half, a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of dried ginger, 1 tablespoon of finely chopped crystallized ginger. Now make sure that you chop that finely so you don't get a little surprise in your tart. 1/2 teaspoon each allspice, nutmeg, and cloves, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now usually I bake that for about 30 minutes or until I insert it with a knife it comes clean. Can you imagine an actual holiday when you can spend time with family and friends? A holiday you can actually enjoy, and also a holiday where at midnight, after all the dishes are clean and everybody's gone, you don't have to deal with the turkey carcass and what are you going to do with it? Well, I think with this turkey breast that's stuffed with a walnut cranberry stuffing, I think this will make your life much easier and much more enjoyable. Then to top it off, we have a not-so-ordinary pumpkin tart that has a crispy pecan crust and a creamy pumpkin filling. And then I paired with my turkey with all the wonderful flavors of the cranberries and cherries, a fruity Pinot Noir from Oregon. It'll be a lovely complement to your turkey. And I think that this will be a dinner you can enjoy any time of the year. Well, I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.
Next, as the Learning Channel continues with its Holiday Kitchen.
This portion of the Learning Channel is brought to you in part by J.A. Henkels.
The world is now a little different, a little sharper, because J.A. Henkels, makers of the world's premier knives, has developed a way to improve them. It's called SCT, Sinter Metal Component Technology, and it's exclusively Henkel's. So only Henkel's knives will be even sharper than before and will stay sharper longer. J.A. Henkel's, the world's finest cutlery since 1731.
To help start your collection, our $35 4-star 3-inch paring knife is now $19.99.
We remember our lives in pictures. But the parts in between those pictures, long stretches of life, we too easily forget. Introducing the Nikon Nice Touch Zoom, a Nikon 35mm zoom for under $129. You will take more pictures. You will remember more, and perfectly. Nikon, we take the world's greatest pictures, yours.
Hey, did you know recently pyramids were seen along the Mississippi? And Genghis Khan stormed Manhattan. In Portland, Oregon, Frankenstein showed up. Really? You missed all that. But it was on the Learning Channel. Well, then you've got to get the Learning Channel magazine, TLC Monthly. It's the only comprehensive guide to everything on TLC. Each issue has informative articles and rich illustrations that highlight TLC's entertaining programs. Plus easy-to-follow weekly grids and program descriptions that help you get the most out of watching the Learning Channel. Now you can get a full year of TLC Monthly. That's 12 issues for only $11.97. Don't wait. Call 1-800-294-7500 and subscribe today. Come on, you don't want to be the last to know that Mayan ruins were seen in Sioux City. Call and subscribe to TLC Monthly today.
Best Documentary Series, Archaeology.
The Learning Channel's got a dozen nominees for cable's highest honor, the Cable Ace.
Best Documentary Host, James Burke of Connections 2. Up against the guys from Furniture to Go.
We'll let you know who wins in January.
Science Frontiers, This Land Australia, Beekman's World, Great Books, Great Castles of Europe, and our own Professor Iris.
Here's to the contenders. The birth of Jesus, the genesis of a great religion. A very special evening, our Ancient Journeys Holiday Special. Tonight beginning at 6 on the Learning Channel. It's time to see what else is on the stove inside TLC's Holiday Kitchen as our cooking extravaganza continues next on the Learning Channel.